Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we got some news to discuss. Jimmy Garoppolo will not be playing this Sunday against the Chicago Bears, which really shouldn't surprise too many people. As soon as we found out that Jimmy G was not practicing on Wednesday, all the reports indicated that it wasn't really going to be all that likely that he was going to be suiting up this Sunday against Chicago. Coming up here on the show, I'll discuss who is the probable starter under center. Is it going to be Aidan O'Connell? Is it going to be Brian Hoyer? And then at the very, very end of the show, we got to talk about the latest going on around Davante Adams. Here's my job here. You might not agree with everything that I say, but when Raiders news happens, I got you updated. You're not going to find a better team out there than Jeremy Chuggs and I. Videos every single day, and we're going to be live later on tonight, Thursday Night Football. Let's see what Derek Carr looks like going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you want to join us, hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. So let's get in here to the latest around Jimmy G. For those of you that maybe aren't subscribed to the show or maybe don't follow the Raiders as closely as what you could if you were subscribed. But Garoppolo was injured in the Patriots Week 6 game. He was unable to play in the second half of that one, and he was rushed to the hospital. Again, they were just trying to test out a few things here and there. It was a back injury, and anytime that you're dealing with a back and anytime you're dealing with a quarterback that has suffered the amount of injuries that Garoppolo has suffered, I think coaching staffs, especially McDaniels and Ziegler, who are very close to Jimmy G, just want to take it a little bit more safe. When McDaniels spoke to the media earlier this week about Garoppolo, he kind of said that, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you could hear in the tone of his voice that he was not very confident that you were going to have number 10 out there on the field. One of the things that McDaniels did say that I remember very clearly was he thought that Garoppolo dodged a, in quotes, major bullet, and we don't know what that major bullet is. I don't know if it was, personally, when he got injured, I'm being real with y'all, I thought it was something internal because I don't really remember seeing a major hit on Jimmy G to force him into having all this pain. But then again, Garoppolo has never really been able to stay healthy. The Raiders knew when you signed a QB like Jimmy G and you put the injury clause in there, it's because he has struggled to stay healthy his entire career. That's simply just facts. So now with Jimmy G no longer going to be out there on Sunday, I said it before, the Raiders now have a better chance of winning this football game against Chicago because the Raiders will be a better team overall without Garoppolo, who's got a 68% completion percentage this season, has thrown for 1,079 yards, 7 touchdowns, leads the National Football League in 8 interceptions despite playing only 4.5 games. I mean, we got to be able to face the music here, right? Garoppolo, teams were stacking boxes. I don't even think that Jimmy G has played like a top 30 QB this season. So now, with this offense, I'm curious to see if they decide to go with the veteran and Brian Hoyer, who has played on a bunch of different NFL teams, has 40 career starts underneath his belt, and he has been the backup QB to Jimmy G, and Aidan O'Connell has been the reserve. But for those that watch the show all the time, I know what Brian Hoyer is. I don't need to see Brian Hoyer out on the field. I don't need to see him starting against the Chicago Bears. And I'll admit, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to not have Aidan as your QB2 on game days, but that's what you're going to get with McDaniels, things that simply do not make sense. But the last time we saw Garoppolo unable to play this season was back in Week 4 against the Los Angeles Chargers. And I sat up here and I said, it's going to be Aidan O'Connell because that's Josh McDaniels' plan. And when McDaniels creates a plan, he doesn't deviate away from it. So what I want to know right now is this. I want you to pick the starter. You got to choose. You get to choose. McDaniels and Ziegler can't do it. Pick the starter. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. I want you to scroll on down and let me know BH for Brian Hoyer or AOC for Aidan O'Connell. If the Raiders are watching this, the answer is simple. You roll with number 4. You roll with Farva. You roll with the stash. It is time to play Aidan O'Connell against the Bears so we can finally see what the rookie has. I'll admit, the last game was a little bit of a struggle. No doubt about it, right? He had a 61% completion percentage up against the Chargers, threw for 238 yards, no touchdowns, a really costly interception, put the ball on the ground 3 times, lost 2 fumbles. But you know what? You got to roll with the rookie because the ups and downs are going to come. but there's no doubt the upside is as high as it can be with Aidan O'Connell. You know who agrees with that? Davante Adams, and I'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks. And if anybody wants to play some fantasy football for Thursday Night Football, I got my picks coming up here in just a second. But I don't know about y'all, I love fantasy, and if you do this, heck, if it's a football game, you can do baseball right now with the MLB playoffs. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. So, Nation, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stats are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So for me, I always try to have a little bit of fun with the Nation here, and this is what I'm rolling with. I'm going Derek Carr, less than 234.5 passing yards. I just see that this is a weird game, short week Thursday night. I like Jacksonville's defense to be able to get some pressure on DC, and which that means a little bit of checkdowns going on to Alvin Kamara. Give me the more on that. 29.5 receiving yards. And then this Giants offense just lost another offensive lineman. It's really struggled overall. Give me the less on Saquon Barkley, rushing yards at 68.5. So for those that don't know, I'm a big-time fantasy football fan. Jeremy Chuggs and I will be talking about these picks live tonight on the Raiders Report, so make sure you're tuned in. And if you want to play with us, giggity, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. So I talked about this on Monday here on this show because I had a lot of people asking me, Mitch, what the heck's going on with Davante Adams? It was reported that he left the Patriots game, and remember, the Raiders beat the New England Patriots. He left the Patriots game, anger. He did not talk to any people from the media, which he does not do. It was also reported that Davante did not shower after the game, which I thought was funny because Davante, according to reports, is one of the players in the locker room that rips on people like, dude, you just played in the football game, shower before you leave. So the fact that he didn't talk to the media, the fact that he didn't shower after the game, that was starting to create a lot of, sirens. That was the smoke before the fire. Then Davante Adams speaks and says, yes, I was frustrated. And yesterday that he said in terms of what he looks at, he said he doesn't look at wins and losses. He looks at greatness. And a lot of people were like, oh, man, I don't like the idea that Davante is saying that win or lose, it doesn't matter. He wants to be great. And I think a lot of people thought that he was talking about his stats because, let's face it, over the past 2 weeks, 6 catches and 74 total receiving yards for arguably the best receiver in the NFL. It's not cutting it. But all Davante Adams was simply saying, and it's kind of funny because he quote tweeted to Sean Reed here on Twitter, and Tashawn said exactly what I said on Monday and exactly what I was trying to reiterate then again on Tuesday. It's not that Davante Adams wasn't happy with the win or loss, but you always got to look at the bigger picture. And when you're a 30-year-old receiver and you're not only trying to win right now, but you also know that you got to go out and get a Super Bowl. It's your time to shine. It's your prime. And Davante knows what all Raider fans know. This offense stinks right now. The fact that they haven't scored over 20 points, and Davante saying, hey, guys, great. We won the football game. Congratulations. But do you see the product that's on the field? I didn't sign up to be on a bad offensive team that doesn't use me. Great, we won. But if we want to achieve the ultimate goal here, which is winning a Super Bowl, we got to clean this shit up. And that's what I think Davante was saying. He then retweeted what Tashawn Reed had to say in a tweet, which is basically everything that I just reiterated right there because it's the truth. Davante is frustrated with this offense, but he's frustrated with the offense because he told y'all in the offseason, when I say y'all, I'm talking to McDaniels, that, hey, man, we don't see eye to eye. I wanted to be able to pick my own quarterback. You didn't let me do that. So now you're rolling with noodle arm Jimmy Garoppolo. You're rolling with Brian Hoyer, who stinks. And, I mean, Josh Jacobs is, struggled when it's been Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G can't help because people are stacking the box. But guess what? Jacobs got it rolling with Aidan O'Connell in week 4. And the one QB that Davante Adams has spoke highly of recently is Aidan O'Connell after the game. Why? Because Davante knows what a lot of Raider fans know. He gives you the best chance to win. He can stretch the field. He can make more throws than Jimmy Garoppolo. And I hear you, McDaniels. Your plan was to sign Jimmy G, have Brian Hoyer as the backup, and then roll with Aidan O'Connell next year. But guess what? The reason why you have struggled to be a head coach is because you can't deviate from your plan. Jimmy G sucks. Move on. Brian Hoyer, I've seen that song and dance before, and I'm done listening to it. And now you got Aidan O'Connell. If I'm the Raiders, it is Aidan O'Connell's team from here on out, no matter what, because I know it's not going to be Jimmy G next year. I know it's not going to be Brian Hoyer next year. You got to see what you have in the rookie because the draft class coming out is special. You need to figure it out. And you know what? I'm hoping we get to see it. Week 7, Sunday. Make sure you guys get up early. Jeremy Chugs and I, we're going to be live for Raiders, Bears, early kickoff. We're going to be getting going at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So think about that. No, that's cap. 12 Eastern time. That's on me. 11 our time. 12 Eastern time. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tune in. And let's help these Raiders get to 4-3 against the Bears.